As you can see here on the dash, my four-wheel drive is not fully engaged. Whether I go forward, backward, let the engine oil warm, it doesn't really matter. Four-wheel drive, four-wheel drive knob here is turned to 4 high, and it doesn't do anything about it. Still remains this. Like I said, I can go forward, backward, neutral, take it into 2 high and back to 2.4. I pretty much followed everybody's advice on how to get it to work, and it's still not working. I personally believe it's a transfer case oil low issue, but I'm not getting any low indicators, so I'm going to try to reset the logical board as I was suggested to. First step in resetting the logical board in this 2011 Toyota Tacoma is to remove the negative battery terminal connection. Positive does not matter. As long as the negative is disconnected, you no longer have power cycling through. And even after we disconnect this, we'll turn on the headlights just to dissipate any capacitor stored energy. All right, again, this is a 10 millimeter wrench. If you don't have one, it's likely that you are borrowing or recycling a family member's set, because 10 millimeter just tends to disappear. We don't really know why it does. So when you are done with it, put it in a safe place, like here in the snow in mountainous Pennsylvania, or do what I tend to do and put it in your pocket. Now notice there's no corrosion at all. This is a good scenario, probably the first time I've encountered it. With the negative terminal disconnected, you can actually cross the power with anything else and you won't get sparks. That's basically why you disconnect this. There's no power cycling through. Okay, we're back in the truck and going to engage the headlights. Obviously nothing's happening with the battery disconnected. So we're gonna go ahead and turn the key off and go back under the hood. Okay, with the battery disconnected and capacitor stored energy dissipated, we're gonna leave it like this for I think 10 to 15 minutes and come back to it for the next steps. Okay, I believe our next step here is to securely snug this negative terminal connection back down. Make sure it's snug and clean too. If it wasn't clean like today's was, you'll actually use sandpaper, or they make a special wire knob that you put over top of this to clean it up. Really, there's no right or wrong way, just to try to clean it up and not drop any of those corrosion chunks down inside of your vehicle. On either side, ignore the extra wiring. I replaced my headlight buckets with LEDs, but there's storage areas, I would call it, for pieces of corrosion down there. Just try not to drop any down there. And get out your specialty 10 millimeter socket or 10 millimeter wrench. Box end, open end, doesn't matter. It's a simple job. Okay, I believe we are done with that. I'm going to put my 10 millimeter wrench in a secure location so I don't become like the stereotype. Okay, I'm back in the Tacoma. You can see we have power right there. The door indicator is on. Before I go too far, there's a few things of note. I took the transfer case, the little indicator knob, down to 2-wheel high, and you can tell that I previously used a good old transfer box with a big old stick that you had to ram in to get it in 4-wheel drive, and hub lockers before I used this truck. But anyway, another thing of note is with it in 2 high, the indicator light for 4-wheel drive may flash and then go out, and that's what we hope for. And the last thing is concerning the 4-wheel drive anyway, is that it may actually take some warming up for it to engage into four-wheel drive after all. We live in McKean County, Pennsylvania, northwestern, and right now it is to 12 degrees and likely not to behave normally. The last thing of note is, since we disconnected the battery, not just the radio has been reset, but some other important things such as the idle. The idle will have to become accustomed to its operator again, so it's going to take a few attempts to get that to operate properly. Okay, here we go. Let's try not to blow things up. Keeping an eye on the battery because that's just how I am. Okay. That was not expected. Okay. So battery looks good, as you can see from the top screen. The indicator light is blinking as I expected it would. I turned it to high and back to low. I'm just going to leave it there for a little bit. I'm going to close the hood and let this puppy warm up. With less restriction, it doesn't take my truck nearly as long to warm up as it used to. And you'll notice I have this nice garage here, which you're probably wondering why I don't have the truck in the garage to warm it up physically before starting the engine. And that's because of who I am as a person. It's fortified and full of junk, and other people's junk. But I hope to rectify that later today if this doesn't work out. At this particular phase in testing, there's really no particular reason to leave this hood open, so I'm going to go ahead and close it and wait for the engine to warm up. For a little bit of information about the climate, you can see the street way down there, the bottom of my driveway, that has melted off. The slope going down from the bottom of my driveway to that road is also melted, but about to that landing, just a little ways up from the road, is the fog line on the hill. And as you can see on that hill, there's white down below and then the frost up above. We're at that location here. And that has treated us a little differently than we expected up here in the woods. It's fine. It's what we want. We just have to learn how to acclimate ourselves to the repair processes necessary with our vehicles. One of the things we've encountered is we have tree rats, as I call them, or squirrels, that like to go in through the air duct by the windshield wiper, come down into the cabin filter area, chew through the filter, and make a smorgasbord out of everything in your glove box. I haven't done it yet on this truck. I did it on my wife's old car. I put a cage above the filter so they pretty much destroy their teeth rather than get through the filter and make a cuisine out of your glove box and interior. That's becoming a problem with this truck, so that's probably one of my next tasks, is to put a homemade cage in above the cabin air filter. Okay, our engine is warming up, as you can see here. Our indicator is still blinking. We haven't messed with that. I left it in 4 high again. You can see my idle is going about normal. I probably won't have to do anything with the idle check, but I'm going to do it anyway. If I'm doing this sequence correctly, you turn the engine off, put the key in the ignition, and turn it to on without hitting the start sequence. Then wait a few seconds. I did hear the fuel pump kick on. We'll turn it off. What's happening is you're teaching your logic board how you operate. And of course we get the Christmas lights up here. Everything goes bananas until you actually start the vehicle. I do that one more time. Again, I did not get this information from a professional. Just a couple of guys who experienced this themselves and figured it out, which doesn't mean that it's the right way. It just means that it works for them. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and start the truck. All right. So our temperature's decent. RPMs are about 800. I do have a program that allows me to connect this gadget by Bluetooth and actually see my exact RPMs, engine temp, exact pretty much everything, but I don't have the pleasure of being able to record that on my screen that I'm using to take video with. And although an IT guy, I'm not exactly into video and editing, so this is the best you'll get from me, unfortunately. And so anyhow, we've reset our idle indicator. We've reset our trained our idle, how we're going to perform. The engine's slightly warm. I wouldn't say it's heated up. We're going to go ahead and move it around with the two-wheel drive indicator turned. Do a little driving. Alright, now we're going to put it in neutral. Excuse me. As you can see here, I have a bunch of junk that's useless in here. But now I've got it in neutral. I'm going to let it coast down to a flatter area in front of my garage. Okay, now we're going to flip it to four-wheel drive. And now in the past, it had already connected. Now today you can see that we're not getting into four-wheel drive. Not really sure how to manage that situation, except for to just give it a few minutes to warm up and move around a little bit. But it certainly is being uphill and does not want to go into four-wheel drive. And forward, reverse, neutral, I've pretty much tried it all at this point. And so although I had somewhat of a failure with this video, I hope you understood the desire I had, and hopefully you understood that where some of the things went wrong was actually beneficial to learn from. And I guess I'll have to contact my dealer and find out what's next. Usually he's pretty good about just telling me how to take the next step in fixing this. Thank you.